Hey guys, Nick with PhoneArena here, and today we'll be comparing one of the best smartphones announced so far this year, the LG G3, against one of the best phones for 2013, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. Yes, we know that the Note 3 has been around for 10 months, while the G3 is a brand new phone. We also know that the LG G3 is better on paper with its Quad HD display, faster processor, and optically stabilized camera. What we also know, however, is that the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 can stand its ground really well. It is a great phone and potentially a worthy rival to the LG G3. Let's see how the two compare. So here it is, the LG G3. Its front is occupied by a gorgeous screen with ultra-thin bezels, while the back has a finish with a metallic look. It looks classy, just like a premium smartphone should. Note that the surface is not slippery and is immune to fingerprints. In the hand, however, the G3 feels unmistakably plasticky. It is made of plastic after all, but still, we are quite pleased with LG's effort to deliver a visually attractive handset. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 seems rather conservative when compared to the G3. Flipping it around, we see a familiar leather-like finish with a sophisticated feel and plenty of grip. Overall, the Note 3 is less flashy of a handset, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. Due to its size, the LG G3 is tricky to operate with a single thumb, but we wouldn't call it frustrating to use. It is more narrow than the Note 3 and sits more comfortably in the palm thanks to its curved backside. In contrast, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a flat, rectangular shape that lacks the G3's ergonomic properties. The power and volume keys on the LG G3 are placed on its back, right under the camera where the user's index finger is expected to be. Some people are okay with this unusual solution, while others don't really like it as much. Virtual on-screen buttons are used for navigation. Here are your back and home key, as well as the recent apps button. On the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 we find a standard for the company button arrangement. There is a power key on the right side, where it is easy to reach, and the volume keys are on the left side. Under the screen we find a clicky physical home button, a capacitive back button, and a menu key, which works just fine. Unlike the LG G3, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 comes with an advanced pressure-sensitive stylus. It is called the S Pen, and it rests in its dedicated slot. You can use it for taking down notes, or for sketching when inspiration strikes, or for navigating through the interface if you feel like it. All in all, it is a welcome feature, although not every single user would find it all that useful. On the LG G3 we have an outstanding 5.5-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 1440 by 2560 pixels, otherwise known as QHD. It is really hard to spot individual pixels even if you look from up close. That's how pixel dense this screen is. The 5.7-inch display on the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a standard resolution for a high-end phone. That's 1080 by 1920 pixels, and its screen uses a diamond subpixel arrangement. Nevertheless, next to the G3's display, the Galaxy Note 3 is almost as detailed. When the two handsets are held at a normal distance from the user's eyes, the difference in screen resolution becomes nearly non-existent. But of course, pixels aren't everything. The LG G3 does a very good job at reproducing primary colors. They are lively and slightly boosted, but still accurate enough. Whites have a slight bluish tint to them, but the deviation isn't so bad. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3, on the other hand, boosts colors way too much, as AMOLED screens usually do. On top of that, whites are even bluer than they look on the LG G3. One way of bringing color reproduction to a more accurate level is to change the screen mode from the settings menu, although that won't be enough to bring the Note 3 to the color accuracy level of the LG G3. Both phones have an average maximum brightness. The LG G3 produces 376 nits, while the Note 3 outputs 360 nits. That's not terrible by any means, and in most cases you will be fine with their outdoor visibility, but most, if not all, other high-end phones perform much better in this respect. One thing we have to point out is that the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a touchscreen that can be operated even through gloves. The LG G3 will respond only to a bare finger. The LG G3 comes with Android 4.4.2 KitKat, and the interface of the system has undergone quite a bit of modification. The UI now has a flatter look with subtle animations, toned down colors and all through consistent presentation. At the same time, it has retained the typical Android feel and functionality. Everything is where you would expect it to be. You get your app drawer, notification panel, home screens with widgets, personalization options and all that stuff. TouchWiz is the interface running on the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. It is also organized in a standard Android manner with an app drawer and home screens for icons and widgets, but as a whole, the UI's presentation is a bit cartoonish. Unlike the G3, the Note 3 does not come with built-in support for interface themes. Multitasking is one of the things that both LG and Samsung have improved upon. The two phones have the neat ability to run two apps side by side. This feature is called Dual Window on the LG G3 and Multi-Window on the Note 3. There is one notable difference between these two solutions, however. Multi-Window on the Note 3 has to be switched on before it can be used, and when it is active, there is a tab that is permanently sticking out from the side of your screen. G3's Dual Window, on the other hand, can be triggered at any time simply by holding down the back key for a couple of seconds. Other than that, the two work in a similar fashion and let us enjoy true multitasking. For example, we can text while watching a YouTube video or browse two websites at the same time. What you see here on the Note 3 is a feature called My Magazine. Basically, it is a news feed powered by Flipboard and it is presented in a user-friendly magazine-like layout. To access it, you just swipe up from the bottom of the screen. On the LG G3, we find Smart Bulletin, which is a home screen dedicated to providing tips on using the device, as well as activity information such as how many steps we have made today and such. Too bad that the use for LG's Bulletin seems too limited to justify occupying an entire screen with it. The Smart Notice feature on the LG G3 is meant to serve as a personal assistant. It is kind of like Google Now, but there are a few twists. For example, Smart Notice will ask you whether you want to remove large unused files in the phone's memory. It will also remind you of missed calls at a later time. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a voice-guided virtual assistant that seems to have been inspired by Apple's Siri. It is called S-Voice and it is triggered with a double press on the home button. Uses include calling or texting a contact, entering a new note or event in your calendar, playing a music track, sending a tweet, and much more. The set of security features on the LG G3 has been enhanced with knock code. This is a user-defined sequence of taps intended to be used as an alternative to lock screen pins and passwords. In addition, a feature called Content Lock can be used to limit access to specific files when the handset is connected to a computer. And the Kill Switch option on the G3 allows content to be wiped remotely in case the device is lost or stolen. It is nice to see that LG has tweaked its on-screen keyboard. It is now easier to use than ever. The LG Smart Keyboard adapts to our texting style and provides more accurate word predictions as a result. Plus, we are free to resize it vertically. We actually enjoy this keyboard quite a lot. The Galaxy Note 3 keyboard is spacious, accurate, and no less likable. We are finding it very comfortable for typing on using two thumbs, be it horizontally or vertically. It is responsive too. Our high input speed has never been an issue. To make single-handed typing possible, Samsung has added the option to squeeze keys on the left or right side of the screen. When it comes to hardware, the LG G3 seems to have the upper hand. It has a very powerful Snapdragon 801 quad-core chip with a 2.5 GHz maximum clock speed. On the Note 3 we have last year's Snapdragon 800 quad-core chip, which can go at speeds of up to 2.3 GHz. But benchmark results show that the LG G3 is not leading by much in terms of performance. In fact, it ranks behind the Note 3 in some tests, especially the ones benchmarking graphics performance. It looks like the greater display resolution on the LG G3 is taking its toll on the phone's hardware. Nevertheless, neither the LG G3 nor the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 would have any troubles running even the latest 3D games at the Play Store. It is just that, with the Note 3, you will be getting a bit higher frame rates. When it comes to UI responsiveness, the LG G3 exhibits some slight lags and dropped frames every once in a while. These aren't annoying by any means, but at the same time, they shouldn't be present on a top-of-the-line smartphone. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 isn't perfect in that respect either. The typical for Samsung lock screen lag is present, but overall, the phone handles UI navigation without any major issues. LG is launching the G3 in two versions, one with 2GB of RAM and 16GB of storage, and another sporting 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. The 3GB model is definitely more future-proof, but even the 2GB model should prove capable enough when it comes to multitasking. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 packs a solid 3GB of RAM, and it has no trouble switching back and forth between tasks. Storage space on the Note 3 is plentiful at 32GB built-in. Both handsets come with microSD card slots for storage expansion. Needless to say, browsing the internet on either of these two phones is a pleasure. Their large, high-resolution displays and their excellent performance make surfing the web an effortless task. With the G3, LG is supplying its own customized web browser. What's new here is that there is a navigation bar at the bottom, although we don't find it all that useful. But the option to have a web page open in a dedicated window above the UI, with other apps accessible in the background, is neat. Overall, this app gets the job done, and we don't have to say anything bad about its performance. Samsung's own preloaded internet browser on the Galaxy Note 3 also handles even heavy web pages swiftly, and we like how it goes into full screen mode on its own, using as much screen space as possible. Switching between open tabs is a straightforward process. The LG G3 has a 13-megapixel main camera, which takes advantage of optical image stabilization technology. On the back we have a dual-tone LED flash for accurate colors when shooting in the dark, and a unique laser-assisted focusing system for near-instant focusing. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 also has a 13-megapixel camera, but it uses only software image stabilization, which can be enabled or disabled manually. Also, there is only one LED flash on the back. This is the camera user interface on the LG G3. It is quite easy and straightforward to use once you get used to the arrangement of the buttons and the options menu. On the downside, LG has removed some of the features that were present on the G2, such as the option to shoot 60 frames per second videos, the manual ISO control, and the manual exposure tuning. The camera application on the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 definitely has a lot more to offer in terms of manual controls, scenes, and adjustments for those who may need them. As for the performance of these two cameras, the good news is that both the LG G3 and the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 take presentable photos, be it in day or night time. Some irregularities, however, are noticeable. In daylight, the LG G3 tends to produce warm images with pumped-up colors. They look fine but are slightly detached from reality. Details, however, are natural and digital noise is put well under control. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 sometimes takes a bit colder photos, which makes it pretty much equally inaccurate color-wise. As far as details go, the Note 3 relies on increased sharpness to artificially boost the detail presence in its photos, and while the results are fine, we wouldn't call them lifelike. At night, the results are a mixed bag. We like the color tones in the Note 3's nighttime photos, but the images from the LG G3 look slightly better when looked at from up close. Focusing times are shorter with the LG G3, so the phone is really good at taking photos instantly without any special preparation. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 focuses almost as quickly, but if you just take it out and shoot, there is a lower chance of ending up with a decent, properly focused photo. Of course, both handsets can take 1080p video with their cameras, and even 4K video at 30 frames per second is an option. The two perform really well when shooting videos, but it looks like the Galaxy Note 3 has the upper hand this time. Its footage is a tad more detailed and natural looking, while the LG G3 takes artificially sharp and contrasty videos. On the LG G3 we find a gallery application that is intuitive to use, especially if you've owned an Android device before. We like the option to delete photos with a swipe up, and we appreciate the added shortcut for sharing with a swipe down. Thumbnails can be resized, which is very nice. The app is short in built-in editing tools, however. All we get out of the box are the options to crop or rotate an image. The gallery application on the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 gets the job done, but the sharing menu is a bit annoying. Instead of bringing the most recently used apps to the top of the list, as stock Android would, it displays a static list with dozens of apps listed alphabetically. To get to Twitter, for example, you have to scroll to the very bottom. At least the image editor is a great one, with effects, stickers, frames, and a drawing mode. Functionally, the music players on both phones have all the basics covered. The UIs share a lot of similarities, with tabs for song, artists, and albums at the top, a playlist occupying most of the screen space, and playback controls at the bottom. On the Note 3, we find a broader array of music enhancements, including a 7-band equalizer, a bass booster, and Samsung's own Adapt Sound feature. The G3 allows us to pick an equalizer preset, or we can adjust the frequency levels manually. Pitch and speed can also be controlled, although that seems useful only for fans of audiobooks. On the back of the LG G3 is placed a single 1-watt speaker of very good quality. Sound coming out of it is very loud and relatively clear, without any crackling even at high volumes. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a single loudspeaker at the bottom, which means that your ringtone won't get muffled if the handset is lying flat on the sofa. Sound produced by it is loud, but lower in quality when compared to the G3 speaker. To no surprise, the two phones are ideal for playing games and watching movies thanks to their huge displays. LG's phone plays back all popular video formats along with subtitles when available. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 has a separate video application, which helps with finding the video files that are stored on the device. Like the G3, Samsung's phablet reproduced our test video files without problems. Both smartphones come with built-in infrared blasters. These turn them into universal remote controls for many of your home appliances, including your TV, your set-top box, your air conditioner, and more. The quality of regular phone calls made with the LG G3 is good, although it could have been better. Sound coming out of the earpiece is loud, but becomes boomy if the volume is turned up too much. Keeping it a notch or two below maximum seems to be optimal. The phone also applies a rather aggressive noise reduction with its secondary microphone. As a result, the voice delivered on the other side of the line is loud and clear, although slightly artificial. As for the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, the earpiece produces a more balanced sound at a very high volume. Extra volume can be had at the top of a button, which boosts the gain but sacrifices quality to an extent. The microphone is also a good one, but occasional hissing can be heard on the other side of the line. There is a respectable 3000 mAh battery inside the LG G3. It is rated for 19 hours of 3G talk time, or over 3 weeks in standby, according to data provided by LG. In the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 is packed a slightly bigger 3200 mAh battery, which is expected to last through 25 hours of 3G talk time or 22 days in standby. Given these figures, one might expect that the Note 3 would last longer between charges. Our custom battery benchmark, however, suggests otherwise. The G3 endured through 8 hours and 50 minutes of testing before its battery was drained completely. The Note 3 lasted considerably less, just 6 hours and 8 minutes. Nevertheless, we would expect at least a couple of days of moderate usage from either handset. At the end of the day, we think it's clear to see that the LG G3 has a lot going for it. But now that we have stacked it up against the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, we can safely say that the G3 is not leading by much. As a matter of fact, the Note 3 is an alternative worthy of consideration, especially when its lower pricing is taken into account. The LG G3 here is the prettier smartphone among these two with its metallic design. Also, it fits better in the hand thanks to its smaller size and more ergonomic shape. It has a display with an astonishingly high resolution, and its Android interface is a pleasure to use. The Samsung Galaxy Note 3 is not a bad-looking phone either, and some may like its conservative design better. The 1080 by 1920 pixel screen that it has looks almost as fine from a standard viewing distance, so its lesser resolution shouldn't worry you much. The user interface might be somewhat cartoonish, but it is loaded with plenty of useful features. In terms of performance, we did not notice any major differences between these two phones, even though the LG G3 sports the faster, newer Snapdragon 801 chip, while the Note 3 has last year's Snapdragon 800. Both exhibit some slight lags every now and then, but overall, these issues are minor to negligible. And in the camera department, we would call it a tie. The LG G3 is faster and produces better details in its photos, while the Note 3 does a better job at capturing videos. Thank you for watching our comparison between the LG G3 and the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. For more details on these two great phones and for more of our reviews and comparisons, just visit our website phonearena.com.